I have with me the most awaited SUV of 2024 for the past 4 years actually, the new Mahindra Thar Roxx. What's different? What's the tech check like? Most importantly, you must have seen a bunch of reviews and the first drives, but what's it like in Mumbai's monsoons? Is it the ideal family city SUV? All that and more in this special segment of Tech Today. You know, the tech and auto world, they say there's a problem or a problem statement, and then with a solution that mischief can be managed. The Mahindra 3-door was perhaps one of the most popular aspirational SUVs here in India. It had become an emotion, the Mahindra Thar. But then some said it was not practical because how do you always get in and out of that car, sit in the back, it's not that comfortable. So you thought maybe this, the Mahindra Thar Roxx is what they're calling it. I'm not too sure about that name, but this would just be an elongated version of the previous Thar. But the engineering and tech team at Mahindra and the design team have really outdone themselves because this is all that and a lot more. It's a lot more practical, it drives better, and there's so much of tech. And honestly, driving the Thar Roxx for a few hundred kilometers, I've realized that not only is it really an upgrade from the previous Thar, but there's so many learnings from across the SUV lineup. If you talk about the Scorpio, the XUV 700, and also a couple of design things that come in from the electric side of the Mahindra lineup, there is so much happening with the Thar Roxx. It really starts with this gritty, teethy sort of a grille up in the front that gives it away that this is the 5-door version. I'm obviously driving the 4x2 diesel automatic. The 4x4 we will do separately in a proper off-roading setup. Today we want to find out if this is an ideal city car. So if I walk you through, you will see that these are massive 19-inch alloys, and then of course you have the side rail over here, and the biggest difference in the Thar Roxx is this particular door, which opens, but it opens in a very smart way. You know, if you really think of how normal car doors open, they'd open at an angle like this, and then ingress and egress becomes a little difficult. But if you open the Thar Roxx door, it really feels like you're entering a chariot, and I think that's a very smart use and optimization of space in the Thar Roxx. And then if the wheelbase is more, it's longer, it's wider, it's also a little bit taller than the original Thar. It also means a lot more boot space, because if you open up the boot, you realize that from top to bottom you can stack it all up with far more storage than the previous Thar. So what are the dimensions like for the Thar Roxx? It measures 4,428 mm in length, 1,870 mm in width, and 1,923 mm in height, with a wheelbase of 2,850 mm. This makes it 443 mm longer, 15 mm wider, and like I said, 3 mm taller than the Thar 3-door. Now, it closes and opens the same way, the boot, and that's nice to see that no matter how much you upgrade, you hold on to what you really were known for with the Thar Roxx. Now, this sort of a window that they've given over here is debatable. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. I think it makes the car a lot more roomy, and it makes it look even better than the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. What's inside is something special, which is a massive panoramic sunroof, which extends all the way till the back. You see, of course, this lovely seating. In fact, you know, I'm just so excited about this being a 5-door Thar that while I will give you the interior review and take this for a city drive, I'm just gonna get in. I'm around 6 feet tall. Let me get in and see what it's like. Surprisingly easy, and this is obviously a seat configuration that's set up for me, and that means if someone of my size, above average, would be able to sit here. Not so much of support over here under thigh, but it is very comfortable, very roomy, and the fact that the sunroof extends all the way till here, it gives you the impression that obviously there's a lot more space. Very smart with these white interiors. I don't know what that means for taking this off-roading. You can already see a few stains over here, but that's obviously something that you can customize. But it does look very premium, and it doesn't seem like the original Thar, it looks a lot more like the XUV 700 from the inside. This panoramic sunroof is an absolute game changer. Of course, the Harman Kardon branding all over tells you that this is an improved sound system as well. And you see that there are AC vents over here with a USB-C connector here and a little bit of storage space for your phones. They've also smartly carved out the seat so there's more space if you have long legs like me. But I'm deviating from the script. The team won't be very happy about that. I was just super excited to see if this is practical. I'll also sit in it later and keep posting across Tech Today's social media handles and our website when we're talking about what this car is like in the city. Is it actually that one car you can own? That's going to be in the verdict of this particular video. Now, one thing is for sure, if you're not very tall or if you're elderly, it is not practical. This is not an absolute premium SUV like a Range Rover or a Mercedes with a dynamic air suspension. So you'll need to really climb in. But it is a Thar, right? So to climb in, you can always hold this handle, which is much like the 3-door version. I will get in and show you all of this. A lot of soft touch, which I'm happy about. But another giveaway that this is a 5-door Thar, because this is the new Thar, not the Armada, but like we know now, the Thar Roxx. But does it actually rock? Well, that I will tell you when I get on the inside. Now, of course, I'm driving the 4x2, but how can you drive a Thar or anything that has the name Thar in it and drive it on city roads? Well, Mumbai's roads are a special phenomenon because you get these sort of roads in Mumbai, and I'm going to try driving it through these puddles and potholes, and this is where the Thar really comes alive. Honestly, this is a very normal occurrence in Mumbai and in a lot of cities, especially during India's monsoons. There's so many ponds and lakes, but the Thar really comes into its own. It comes alive in this sort of terrain, and that's why we're going to go for a short drive, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the new Mahindra Thar Roxx. Okay, now it's time to answer the million-dollar question. What's the ride quality like in the Thar? I'm going to tell you what a ladder frame SUV like this can do. Now, of course, it is a diesel engine, but Mahindra's diesel engines are also very refined. A little bit more languid, I would say, than the petrol engines, but honestly, you're getting that fuel efficiency. It's a 4x2, and the grunt of the engine is a lot of fun. I'm trying this turn as well in the Thar Roxx, and it has a 360-degree camera with these sensors that come on, and again, it really managed to do that turn like a breeze. But speaking about the steering wheel, it's a lot lighter and a lot more fun to use. It looks like the XUV 700s and the Scorpio Ns, but it also drives like that to a large extent because it's no longer a hydraulic steering wheel. It is now electric. Electric and light. And speaking about electric, one thing that I remember from our Mahindra electric reviews is the drive modes. And you have Zip, and you have Zap and Zoom. Now over here we have a different version: Zip, Zoom, Snow, Mud and Sand. So I was in Zip all along. I'm going to select Zoom just to see the difference. I'm going to slow down a bit and let's accelerate and see what this is like. Okay, so Zoom it does. I'm sure this is not the best for fuel economy and mileage, but it really gives you that sudden push. You can feel the torque, and I think that's what they've tried to do with these modes as well. These infotainment systems are largely upgraded. They seem a lot more like the Scorpio N and the XUV 700. Turn on the indicator. It beeps like all Mahindra cars, but refreshing to see that you're using the 360 cameras and showing me something right here in front of me in the cluster. And that's very, very refreshing to see in a Mahindra Thar. The one thing, even though you add all of this luxury and this great tech and all of that, the one thing that you hold on to is your core, your grand norm. That happens to be this riding position in the Mahindra Thar. It helps that they have these powered seats where I can adjust it, but the fact that you have full visibility of the road, full visibility of the front bonnet of the car, and then this airy cabin with a sunroof, which is just wow. Now, the sunroof could have extended a little bit more to the front, so it would be more beneficial for the driver. But then if this is a family SUV, you expect to be the dad sitting in the front, the young dad, might I add, and you'd have the kids at the back enjoying this, and enjoy it they will because it extends all the way till the back. It's one of the most airy, spacious sunroofs we've seen on an SUV. Now, we've been testing the Thar in Maharashtra, especially in Mumbai with all of its potholes, and of course during the monsoons. But that is terrain that is not alien to the Thar, and honestly it manages it really well. What's it like on lower speeds? Of course, you can feel the bumps even now to some extent. Much more refined than the previous Thar, but it is a ladder frame SUV, and in that, because it's not a monocoque like maybe the XUV 700 or the Defender, which is another category altogether, but those seem like more comfortable SUVs to drive. The Thar stood for something, and it's a very tricky narrative to follow in terms of how comfortable can you make it that it doesn't seem like it's ready for the rugged outdoors. The Thar is ready for the rugged outdoors, and let me just say it's a lot more comfortable than the previous edition. I honestly enjoy driving this car with its water wading capabilities as well, which are the same no matter how much luxury you put into the car, how much tech you put in the car. They've managed to retain their weight sensing capabilities from the previous Thar. So you can do that, you know, occasional off-road trail, cross a lake and do stuff like that, which is super cool. Of course, it won't be fully waterproof on the inside like the previous one because of all the bells and whistles in this car, but you can feel the bumps a little bit, like I said, when you're on the road. What is it like when you really pick up some speed? So a slight bumpy patch up ahead. I'm going to try. Honestly, we've been driving this on the highway, here on the by lanes as well. On higher speeds, it's incredibly comfortable to drive, very planted, and it's very reassuring. It makes you very confident that you're in this driving position with a beautiful view like that. Often you see the flamingos here in Mumbai when we are driving past this stretch. The monsoons are here. It seems like a road fitting for the Thar. And this new Thar, the family-friendly Thar Roxx, would be a lot of fun to really use the boot space in this car, use the tech, and really come out for a drive here in Maharashtra or anywhere in India. This is a world-class experience in the cabin of the Thar Roxx. So when people ask me about the interiors and the tech on the car, this is what I want to start off with. A 360-degree camera. Put the car right here. The camera is impeccable in terms of its output, quite helpful with these adaptive guidelines. Most importantly, you have the sensors that come on all throughout. Let me put the car in P and tell you a little bit more about this particular system. First, if you just look at some of the materials being used here, soft touch, which means very premium, of course, in auto lingo. But then you have these clusters and this 10.25-inch screen, which is quite decent for a Mahindra Thar. Of course, it comes with Android Auto, and this is a representation of just that. Android Auto works perfectly fine, but what doesn't seem to work for now is Apple CarPlay. I don't know why it takes Mahindra a while to usually get that right, but wireless Android Auto is working spot on. Maybe Apple CarPlay, I hear, is coming with a subsequent update. Now, if you look at the other things over here, you have adventure stats, which is kind of cool because you can see things that you're doing on road, off road, and lap info for some reason. Lap info in a Mahindra Thar, you can get the countdown going. You have start, stop. But for now, we're not racing. We're here in the outdoors. You can also customize things over here. And then you have a bunch of applications here, which is standard on all Mahindra cars now. Navigation with Map My India, but you're obviously going to be using Google Maps. That's something which I find a lot better from a tech standpoint. Quite intuitive, quite responsive, and everything seems to be utilitarian over here. It comes with Alexa. I'm not going to say the magic word, but then this cluster is what makes me really happy with the Thar Roxx, because this car, believe it or not, comes with level 2 ADAS. And if it's coming with level 2 ADAS, that means a lot of the action is going to be right here. Also, auto emergency braking. Now, does it need to come with ADAS? That's something that is becoming standard across a lot of cars, especially the premium ones. And I think that's why Mahindra must have felt that there's a lot of learnings from the XUV 700. Brilliant ADAS controls in that car at that price point. They've given it to the Thar. So am I a fan of ADAS in its current form? Maybe not. But the fact that you're getting it, again, adds to the argument that this car is a true bang for your buck. Now, it comes with this push to start button over here, which works seamlessly, but there is no keyless entry, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer. You'd expect that, but then this reminds you of the old Thar, so we're not complaining over there. Now, if you're talking about the sound in the car, you will spot these speakers in every corner, right at the back as well. The rear seat really plush with a bunch of Harman Kardon speakers, and that's because the sound of the car is hugely improved with a 9-speaker Harman Kardon setup. There's Type-C charging ports with rear AC vents and storage space. Now, there's a little bit of an identity crisis because we've seen these light interiors which look super cool, but if this is meant for an adventure tourer lifestyle or for the outdoors, then this can get very dirty, so you might need to really rework that or modify it. Now, this car, the Mahindra Thar Roxx, across all variants from its base right up to the premium flagship, comes with 6 airbags as standard. So I'm guessing this will be a higher safety rating, which has become commonplace, and for good reason, with Mahindra cars. Now, of course, it's not very reductionist. There's those old click buttons right here. The coolest feature by far in the Thar Roxx that makes it practical, if your parents and your family and friends are asking, is ventilated seats in the front. This is an absolute must, especially in cities like Mumbai, which are humid. And of course, across the country, tropical summers are quite a pain to deal with. And I think a lot of the international manufacturers give us the cars from there. And then there's seat heating and no ventilation. In the Thar Roxx, it's made in India, it's made for India, because we have seat ventilation as well. And a big feature, USB-A, USB-C charging ports. Every tech influencer is saying that about a car, but this is another game-changing feature. Take your iPhone or your Samsung Android, put it right here, and wireless charging works surprisingly better than most premium SUVs that we've used. Very easy to access, and of course this is not a 4x4, this is a 4x2, so I have a little extra storage space over here as this cubby hole. The interiors are on point. The car looks roomy. People can complain a bit about the outside looking less, well, commanding and demanding than the original Thar. Maybe not the same road presence, but on the inside, this is the upgrade that the Thar was waiting for. Well, now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, our verdict on the new 5-door Thar. Actually, this is more of a justification or a vindication if any of those elderly family members or very reasonable family or friends tell you that this is not a practical car, or at least the original Thar wasn't for all these years. Well, then this is what you need to copy paste and maybe show them as well. Is this now practical? Yes, it is. I can safely say that. Is it still stylish? Does it hold on to the core Thar emotion? Yes, it still does. Have a look at it. Is it actually, well, affordable? Absolutely. At the price point that Mahindra has come up with the Thar Roxx, this is genuinely a contender to take on some of the compact SUVs, and then, of course, even some of its elder siblings within the Mahindra lineup and also in the Tata lineup. But these are all just justifications. I'm going to keep it very simple. This car looks good. It drives better. The tech is on point. And honestly, it feels like $1 million when you're sitting in that commanding driving position. So I can safely say the Mahindra Thar Roxx is all set to rock the SUV space.